There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
Episode 170 of the Program Guys podcast coming right into your ear holes as we speak. I am Mark Hall, joined today by Patrick Hertzberger and Matt Gann. No Mason Prince. All right. No Mason Prince, no Ryan Tyson. We love those guys. We'll see them next time. Maybe. Lot to get to today. Oh my gosh. Lots going on in the OU sports world. But first things first, if you're listening and this is your first time listening, make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to us on all of our platforms. That's on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. That's on Spotify if you're listening there. All the podcast apps. Go find us on social media. We're most active on Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on all of the things. If you think we might have a presence there, we have a presence there. I promise you. We are lively
Threads,
on the apps.
TikTok,
so
all of it.
Threads, baby.
Bam.
Patrick's got a Threads account for us.
Yep.
Bang. Go follow it there too. Let's get them numbers up. As always, if you like anything you hear, go ahead and comment something down below. Let's get the algorithm in our favor. It hasn't been for a minute. Patrick, how you doing?
I don't know, because the state of Oklahoma football, the wide receiver room, the tight end room, the offense again, it's bringing me down. Bayern Munich loses 2-1. Shouldn't have lost. Bringing me down.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
That's what it really is.
A lot of negative news to get to today. Yeah.
Matt Gann, are you as negative as Patrick today, or how are you feeling?
Not at all. White Lotus season 3 finale just ended this last Sunday. I've eaten Thai food every Sunday for the past 2 months in honor, and no better time to live than right now in the present.
I saw a video of a New York Thai restaurant, and they had like 100 bike Uber delivery drivers outside just waiting for their deliveries. Because
White Lotus has a big effect, and maybe foreshadowing future MVP. We'll have to discuss it later.
Maybe.
We had Ryan's must watch. Now we've got Hugh's views, and
that's right.
It's going to be White Lotus this week. So is the Thai food thing a thing because the episodes
in Thailand,
the season's in Thailand?
Yeah. So each season's in a different location, and this one was in Thailand.
So where were previous seasons?
Hawaii and Italy.
So did you eat like a lot of pineapple and then a lot of pasta?
No, but the White Lotus effect, that every single destination has been a travel boom. So after season 1, after season 2, and season 3, all locations have had a lot more tourism and activity since the show has aired the last 3 seasons.
No, it makes a ton of sense. I imagine Hawaii and Italy and Thailand were hurting for tourism before White Lotus. So
you have
really
no
glad
idea
that the show could help out on that. To the outline, boys. First, tough news for the Oklahoma football program. Tough news if you're a big fan of the class of 2024 Oklahoma Sooners. Tight end Davon Mitchell has, I guess, shared with Hayes Fawcett he is leaving the program and going to enter the portal. There were rumblings last week of, hey, his locker seems to be emptied out and cleaned out, and the vibes are not good, and there's a lot of places we can go with this. I've got some thoughts of my own, but I really want to see what our resident Normanite, Matt Gann, has on this one, because it's just, it might be devastating, it might not, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the way you look at it. It's a pretty crazy storyline or timeline that he was practicing on Thursday, and then by Friday morning, his locker was cleaned out. And there's really still no particular reason, or we have not learned yet what has been transpiring in the background to have his departure so suddenly. And obviously with the uncertainty of the tight end room, especially the way it's been the last few years, you thought maybe Davon Mitchell could solidify that spot. Obviously he reclassified, was going to be a 5-star in his own class, decided to come a little bit early, and was probably going to be the prominent star that OU needed on the offensive end, especially in the tight end room. So this just leaves another big hole or another question mark offensively. Feel like you've solidified the quarterback position, but he's going to be thrown to these weapons? Is the offensive line going to hold up? So this is just another added question mark. But, we wish the guy good luck for wherever he ends up next and obviously his future career. Just sad we didn't get to see a lot of opportunities for him playing in the Crimson and Cream. But I think Jim Nagy, this staff had to, look over and see, does this make sense? Is this relationship working? And I think they came to a conclusion that it just wasn't. So best of luck to him. And we'll just have to see how the tight end room shakes out.
Do we think, and I'm not privy, I'm not an insider, do we think that he was processed in that way? Because my understanding, just my take on it, I guess, was Davon Mitchell didn't get it together, and then Davon Mitchell decided to enter the portal. Do we think this was like a Nagy and coaching staff thing, Pat?
I believe it was a coaching staff decision. I think they were definitely part of this. From what it seemed, Davon Mitchell, obviously had struggles coming into the Oklahoma program, just wasn't mature enough. Then doesn't play in the bowl game. Something we expected was that he would definitely play in the bowl game, and then he comes out with that announcement that the reason he hasn't played all year and didn't play in the bowl game was because of his actions alone, not because of Joe John Finley or the coaching staff. He thanked the coaching staff. He thanked Joe John Finley in that message. And then, I don't know, we're sitting at 4-ish months later, he leaves the program. So I think it was him doing something and it being the final straw with the coaching staff and said, look, like we tried. This isn't working out for us.
It sure seems like coming out of the bowl game with that sort of, hey guys, it's on me. I'm going to double down. I'm going to redouble my efforts. It seems like that, in addition to the offseason moves that we saw at tight end, going out and getting, Will Huggins. That's great. He's a D2, D3 guy. We have several D2, D3 guys from the transfer portal that came in. It seems like they wanted to give Davon Mitchell a runway to take the job. And he might have just failed to do that. Obviously, comes in beginning of spring ball, measuring in at 6'4", 275. A lot of times, they'll do the players a favor on that, right? If you're a little heavier than you should be, they'll drop you a few pounds. If you're a little lighter than you should be, they'll bump you up a few pounds. 6'4", 275 is an undersized 3 technique. That's a guy who should be on the defensive line, not catching the ball and running routes for touchdowns. So clearly some sort of disconnect between what Davon Mitchell was doing and what the staff wanted him to do, just taking care of business, right? You hear about him being late to meetings or missing functions that he should have been at. And Matt, to your point, this is a former 5-star. This is a guy who had it all sitting in front of him. I can't help but think the decision to reclassify and join the 2024 class alongside childhood friend or at least high school friend Michael Hawkins, that might have been a bad call for Davon Mitchell.
Could be. I guess we'll never know how it ends up playing out. But again, I think the staff had to reevaluate that if he wasn't going to be a part of the culture and the program that they're trying to build, well, they have to make it a business decision at the end of the day. Does it make sense to continue to put their efforts into a player that doesn't seem maybe fully committed to the process, or does it make sense to focus efforts on other guys? And you brought up a good point. We brought in obviously quite a few transfers: Carson Kent, John Locke, Will Huggins, and obviously now moved former linebacker Jaron Connect. Maybe this says a little bit more of where they evaluate the tight end room, but looking at that list of guys, who's going to elevate their stock to take that number one position? Because we just haven't had a tight end that can do it all, either stay on the line and block for runners and be able to go out and catch a ball consistently. I think Bauershaw had his times where he was able to catch the ball, but definitely not consistent on both his run block and his catching ability. So it's going to be an interesting for Joe John Finley, who has just not really had a good run of it the last few years, and this doesn't look good either on his resume. And not entirely his fault, let's just say that, but not good when you have a former 5-star leave the program for whatever reason, and what talent do you have to back that up?
Could be his fault.
This is a guy who we were talking about, even though he was 17, 18, could be NFL ready in like 1 or 2 years, like at the age of 20. We were so hyped for him. We were screaming, please let him play his first year. Please let him play his first year. We were curious as to why he wasn't playing, and obviously it was more so to do with personal issues like not being to meetings on time. But it's really sucky because if you look at Brent Venables and the offensive his recruiting classes and the offensive side of the ball, one could argue the most exciting players that he's been able to bring in are Jackson Arnold and Davon Mitchell, both of them no longer with the program.
It's a great point. It's a really good point. And you look at, some of the talk immediately coming out of this announcement or this report is that, okay, Oklahoma's going to have to target someone in the portal again, right? Go find another next tight end to come in and be this year's Bauer Sharp. I got news for you guys. I'm looking at the portal, and Davon Mitchell's the highest ranked player there. So we're going to have to see a lot of movement, guys choosing to leave their current spot for that to be something that takes place for the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, you would imagine that there were some pretty hefty NIL commitments made to Davon Mitchell a year ago, and maybe you freed up some of that cash to use on another difference maker, but I don't really see it. And I'm wondering what you guys think of the tight end room headed into next year, now that we know, hey, it's not Davon Mitchell. That dude who should be a guard is not playing tight end for us anymore. Where do you go from here? I am still very, very partial to the idea of Jaren Kanak carving out a role as a tight end / H-back kind of thing. You look at Ben Arbuckle's offense, the tight end is not getting 1,000 targets. He's getting a few touches here and there. He's blocking a lot. He's running routes, but he's not your, number 2, number 3 target on any given play. Have you guys seen or heard anything coming out of spring ball? I know Will Huggins has played well. I know Clark. What was the other one with the
Carson
C-Mac?
Kent and
Carson
John
Kent.
Locke.
I was going to say Clark Kent. That's not right.
Superman.
I know that he's really made some waves and impressions too. I think back to last spring when Bauer Sharp was lighting the world on fire, and I just have trouble believing any of it. Matt, what do you think?
I think it's just going to have to be a tight end by committee this year. I think Davon Mitchell was going to be that superstar stud that we needed at tight end, like a Mark Andrews, like those guys that we've seen before play that position at OU. But I think Ben Arbuckle will be able to scheme up some good opportunities. But I think for the tight end room, it is going to be have to done by a committee. And if someone can rise to the occasion and take more snaps, that's just going to have to be seen throughout the season. But don't really have a lot of faith right now with the room that we currently have. There's just a lot of unknowns at this point.
I didn't hear you, Mark.
Yeah, I'm muted. I don't know why.
No.
Patrick, same question. What do you think about the tight end?
I think we're kidding ourselves if I think we're kidding ourselves if we have any expectations of this tight end room being decent. Like, come on, Jaren Kanak. If he was good at line or if he was good at tight end, that shift probably would have already happened. I don't know. Like, it's a long shot. A linebacker is going to be a great tight end for the University of Oklahoma and the SEC. Give me a break. Like, maybe.
I feel you on that.
But
you rarely see guys change positions late in their career and have it work out. You look at Tyler Algier played linebacker for BYU before he became a tailback.
Yeah.
That's the one I have in mind, right?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't had any success with tight ends in the portal. Bauer Sharp, I mean, sure, he was our best wide receiver, but across the country, like, you can't say that guy was great or good.
Right.
I'm looking at this Eric Gilbert guys in the transfer portal as well, ranked under Davon Mitchell.
At 1,000 schools.
What?
He's been at 1,000 schools. I just don't think they'd ever bring him in.
Yeah, but I mean, he was the top tight end in Georgia 2 years ago, and second best player in Georgia 2 years ago. I would take a chance. I would throw the bag. What else?
Trade a 5-star for a 5-star.
Yeah. What else do you got? Like, if you're serious.
I don't disagree. I don't think they're going to go out and get someone. I think that Matt's closer to what's really going to happen here. And we're going to de-emphasize the position. And, I hope that Jaren can can really make a name for himself and create a role for himself, but there's a lot to be seen. And we might be looking at a situation similar to last season where the tight end is target number one, even though no one planned for that. Because we are going into a spring ball and at least no spring game, which we'll get to also, where we're dealing with some receiver injuries. Now, not all of this is public information, so we're not going to get deep into all of it, but Giovanni Gibson has something, Deion Burks has something, and Satania, am I right on that? Satania is dealing with something. So you already see, man, even without a spring game to sort of up the competition and possibly deal with injuries, the receiving core is already getting decimated again. What do you think about it, Matt?
I'm sick to my stomach. I can't do this a year later, where we have just absolutely no wide receivers, or at least it's just a young group of guys who have not sat on the football field and have no experience. So, I mean, you can only wish that there's some hopeful optimism that these aren't long-term injuries and that these guys can potentially come back. I mean, you've heard a lot of good things about Giovanni Gibson already through spring, so that's already a massive loss. But guys like Jaden Gibson, Deion Burks, you have to have play. And guys like Emmanuel Choice and some of these other guys you've been hearing spring ball, again, they're just going to have to next man up mentality, but doesn't give me a lot of confidence knowing what we saw last year heading into the new year, especially now that we've solidified the quarterback position. But who the heck is he going to be throwing it to? It's tough. It really hurts and stings at my core that this is potentially, I guess, cross my fingers, happening again.
Matt mentioned Manny Choice. Elijah Thomas is on that list. Zion Kearney's on that list. Ivan Carrion's on that list.
Yep.
There's talent in the room. None of it really feels proven enough. Pat, what do you think?
Yeah, I've been pretty open about this. I wasn't impressed with the freshmen we had on the field last year. They, in my opinion, made little to no impact. Ivan Carrion brought some juice kind of towards the end there, but still like not really good enough. Not what we saw from someone like Javonte Gibson his freshman year, or at redshirt freshman year, right? Like Javonte Gibson was significantly better than what we saw from Ivan Carrion. The Kearneys, all right, small and fast, not much there. News that Javonte Gibson is still battling injury, and Jaden, they're confusing me. Everything I just said was about Jaden Gibson.
Right.
Jaden Gibson still battling injury this spring as well. Supposedly not who he used to be. That's concerning. And then the news. I mean, I saw on Twitter that Giovanni Gibson is hurt, could be out for a long time. So, or not, I don't know like how long, but
sounded serious.
Sounded serious in months, like could into the season potentially, right? So what do you do? I think you get a couple wide receivers and you have to drop the bag. This is your last season as head coach if you don't have wide receivers in the room. So I don't know what you have to do. If you have to give $1 million of your salary, do it.
Oh, interesting. Going the full Mario Cristobal on it.
I mean, what else are you going to do? He's no one to throw it to.
I don't have the answer. I like some of the names in the receiving core, but I think I'm a bit of a sucker on things like this. I would love to see Ivan Carrion carve out a role as a 6'6" guy, right? Elijah Thomas has come in as a freshman and seems to be lighting the world on fire in the spring. We heard the same things about Gavin freaking Freeman. So it's hard to buy anything that we hear in the spring, and losing the guys that we've been told as a fan base, Giovanni Gibson, Deion Burks goes down for whoever knows how long, right? But missing reps is missing reps. And Isaiah Satania, the only other proven SEC wide receiver on the roster, that guy gets hurt too. It's a lot to deal with. Now, I'd say this, Josiah Martin comes over. This guy used to play at Guyer with Jackson Arnold. He was a 4-star receiver in the 2024 class. Yeah. Maybe that's a guy who comes in and gets some more snaps. Keontez Lewis, I think is the guy's name. Another receiver through the transfer portal that as the reps get taken away from these guys who have been hurt, maybe you see him come through and make some more plays. Manny Choice is 6'4", looks like a Greek god out there sometimes. There are things there that you like, but the fact that those guys weren't earning the praise previously tells you these are not our best options. They're just not our best options. And I don't know who's going to hit the portal. I can't count on that. So we might be looking at another year with a lot of iffiness at the receiver position. And I was hoping that wouldn't be.
Yeah, Emma Jones better figure it out quick because this is where the money is made. Obviously, he's been hot on fire on the recruiting trail, but once you get him in-house, you have to be able to develop these guys, and injuries happen across every team, right? OU is not the only team and program that has to deal with injuries every single year. Now, have we had an unusual decimation to our wide receiver? Sure. We hope that's not the case again this year, but man, Emma Jones has got to figure it out with Ben Arbuckle and start scheming up these guys. There's just too much talent in the room to waste. And again, with such a pivotal year heading to the SEC, the schedule's not any easier. So they're going to have to figure out a way.
Yeah, and maybe I'm being a little too pessimistic. I mean, you remember again, it was with Baker Mayfield, but the Ohio State game in Ohio State, we can't really, I mean, I can't name 3 of those receivers, and that's because the receiving core he had during that game were like nobody. So if you do have a coordinator that has a pulse, then we can scheme things up and things will be okay. However, I'm just so scarred from last season and seeing 0 production from our wide receiver room and 0 creativity from our offensive coordinator to scheme anything up that I'm just concerned at this point.
Great points. I think that John Mateer is kind of our saving grace at this point. He knows the offense. He can get guys settled, hopefully a little bit better than Jackson Arnold could last year under the direction of the least competent offensive coordinator I've ever seen. And between Mateer and Arbuckle, maybe they can scheme some stuff up. We won't see it, though, because there's no spring game. The Sooner Combine, or the Crimson Combine, is coming up this weekend on Saturday. We've gotten a little bit more details of what the event is going to be. It basically seems like we're going to see some one-on-one drills and maybe some 7-on-7, and then kids can come down to the field and talk to players, get things signed. All very nice. This would be a great thing in addition to a spring game. How do we feel about the Crimson Combine now that we know a little bit more about it coming up this Saturday? Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a fan perspective, it's nice that they're having a little bit more fan interactions and things to do, but you could also do it at the spring game. And the spring game has been such a culmination of a jump board or a jumping board off starting point for the season itself. So this just feels a couple steps down from what we're used to. And I'm not really sure how to feel about it. I'm going to try to see if there's an opportunity for me to go to it to see and experience it myself. I just don't think it's going to quite have that same magical touch of going into the football stadium, being able to watch some of these guys, get a good idea of how they're going to scheme and put these guys together. It's just not going to have that same feel. Not that it can't be a good time and a good weekend. It's just not a spring game. It's just not the same.
I attended the game 2 years ago, and it was full of not just people like me, but students coming through. And yeah, of course, families coming through. It's a very affordable way to get the whole family out there, watch the team practice some without that maybe hostile game day environment. But I think you're gonna lose a lot of that. I think they've almost targeted it too much towards the families with young ones who can come in and do this stuff versus this was the one time outside of the fall that I made sure to go to Norman, right? That people made a trip back to the Mecca, and that's just not there anymore. Patrick, what do you think it's going to look like this Saturday?
Yeah, your point on students is a good one. I don't like if I were a student, I wouldn't be showing up. What's the point?
No,
Like, there's
hanging out.
nothing cool about this. You're not seeing anything fun for you. You're right. It's just for the families and young kids. But hey, that's
Kind of
college
weird.
football. So I mean, we're not alone in this boring spring game activity.
No, it's a good point. And it does seem, we've talked about it before, the ask is getting greater and the payoff is getting smaller from the fans or for the fans. And you just wonder, are we going to find something to replace a spring game that actually works? Maybe it's the Crimson Combine. Maybe we see all the content coming out of it this weekend and we're like, hey, we need to be there next year. I just have a lot of doubts, man. I do not feel dynamite about it. Any final thoughts on the Crimson Combine before we circle the wagons?
No?
All right. Circle them up, Matt Gann. Let's do it.
Whoa, some good updates. I'll start on the softball diamond with OU women's 34-3. They recently beat St. Thomas 12-4. That was on I believe, a Tuesday or a Thursday night, beating them 12-4 in 5. Now, this was a little controversial because Patty had a mandatory obligation that night. I think she was speaking at some type of ceremony, so she already had that marked on her calendar. Guys, what do you guys think about her just not being
Yeah,
there?
we gotta pause on this.
Yeah.
What other coach gets to do that? Just take a game off. I I'm as full throated a Patty Gasso fan as you'll find, but where's the obligation? Is it to the team or is it to an appointment you knew you made during the season? It's just a strange thing to me that this would even be on the schedule for her. Pat?
And what's the importance of this? Like, I understand maybe if you're speaking maybe bad example right now, but like at the White House for something, cool. Like maybe
Great
that's
example.
the excuse, right? That's fine. But I don't even know what this was because I don't remember it because it wasn't a huge important event across like the country that was impactful. So I don't even know what she was doing. My second point is if your player can't skip for something like this, which I doubt they could, you shouldn't be able to skip because the standards that are on your players should be the same standards you hold yourself to. Now that being said, Patty Gasso is the best softball coach the world has ever seen. So whatever,
True.
she gets to do this, I guess.
I
Yeah, as
guess
for
it's just so weird. Didn't
as
happen
for
the
a
last 4 seasons.
keynote speaker at the Oklahoma Christian University Associates Gala. So
Not important.
I'm not sure what the connection is or what it is, but yeah, it seems a little odd to me.
So let's just hypothesize for a moment. If she goes to this and a donor writes $1 million check for NIL funds, we're in, right? Like it's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine under those circumstances.
Yep.
Do we see something similar coming to some of these other sports? Does Porter Moser miss a D2 game in Norman next season because there's a donor who might help him grab another one of these big time recruits? Or Jenny Baranchik? Is this the future that we're headed towards?
It's a good
It
point.
seems so weird to me.
It's a good point because I think that's like where you also put Jim Nagy now. Obviously, no one's ever going to miss a football game, but that kind of event is an event that Brent doesn't have to go to anymore. Jim gets to go. And so
Mhm.
softball's not going to have maybe that other person. However, basketball might. Yeah. So I like it. I think other sports have other people, but I guess I don't know.
Listen, I'm more okay with it. It was a school from the FCS, so it wasn't even a conference game. And thinking what Patty has done just in the last 4 years, I think she is granted she has the ability to do that, knowing that we have JT and other people on the coaching staff. So I'm not really too upended by it. I thought it was just a little weird because we don't see a lot of coaches just take off, and maybe we're just not aware of them. But it's obviously Patty Gasso. She's one of the premier, if not the best college softball coach of all time. So a little bit odd to take off. Again, is there some opportunity cost where she's going in front of donors? We don't really know the full story. But again, when you win 4 championships back to back, I'm okay having her a night off as long as the team wins.
All right, we're giving Patty Gasso grace, but it's weird.
It's
It
weird.
is weird.
That's
Matt,
right.
we're only a little bit way through the waganns. Keep on circling, baby.
Yep. So after St. Thomas, they beat UCF 6-0, and then I believe weather canceled the second game on Saturday, so don't think that will be rescheduled. But they do have Bedlam on the schedule coming up next with OSU Cowgirls, number 18, coming in on, I believe, I want to say either they're playing tonight if you're listening, or maybe the day after, but playing this week before they have a 3-game series in Tuscaloosa against number 22 Alabama, a really good road test for the Lady Sooners, who have so far struggled in conference play, which I think is to be expected with how tough the conference is. Moving over to the other baseball diamond, OU baseball 23-8, 5-6 in conference play. They actually just got swept by number 2 LSU, losing 0-2, 2-10, and 2-3. So they were very competitive in the first and third game, but it is our first season sweep in conference series since Kansas State in 2021. So it has definitely been a while, the last 4 years since they got swept in conference play.
Golly.
But you just wanted them to come out because they had some opportunities in those games to potentially either tie or potentially take the lead, and we're able to. So I'm sure Skip Johnson is trying to refocus and get these guys ready because they do not, again, have an easy schedule upcoming. I believe when I saw, let me get this pulled up here, they will play DBU again, who has been their arch nemesis the last few years, and obviously who beat them
Good
earlier in the
baseball team.
year, with
Good
a
baseball team.
good butt whooping. And then they will play a 3-game series against number 17 Vanderbilt starting this weekend. So again, it doesn't get easier for the OU men's team. They do have some talent, but struggling so far in conference play. Let's go
It
ahead
feels a
and
lot like last season, right? Where they start out playing very, very well. You get to the conference play, it sort of falls off a little. And does it fall off to the point where you become like not a competitive team, or are you able to level back up and start competing against a Vanderbilt, right?
yep.
Lot to see moving forward there.
Yeah, a lot of season ahead, but definitely want to see some more conference wins, especially since they started so strong, even in their first couple series, but definitely fallen off just a little bit. We'll go to hard court, talk a little OU men's basketball. Even though their season has ended, they did pick up 2 pretty highly coveted transfers in the spring portal. So Moser is already going to work. The first commit was Notre Dame transfer Tay Davis, who probably had his best career, averaging 15 points and 5 rebounds, and he is 6'9". He is an absolute athlete. And if you guys watch it, he just absolutely explodes off the tape. What do you guys think about this guy coming in? And how does Moser do this? He usually gets a guy or two out of the portal. This is a pretty good start. Patrick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, pretty surprising, right? These guys are really solid players. I wonder if this has to do with Trey Young dropping some bag, or where these funds are coming from, how Porter is getting them in the building, but really positive news for the basketball program that I'm excited about.
I'm a little more hype about the other guy than I am Tay Davis, but getting a functional athlete on the wing, sign me the heck up. That's
Yep.
it, just knowing you have a guy out there you can give an outlet pass to and he's going to be able to make a play with it is something we didn't truly have this season, right? We had Jeremiah Fears, period,
Yep.
full stop. So
Yeah, and
very
also
cool.
we've had a lot of transfers out, just like we've seen, and that's just what I think college basketball. People are going to be looking for opportunities and looking for other schools to potentially get minutes for. We've seen kind of a mass exodus the last few years, and unfortunately, we've seen other OU players thrive at other programs. So hopefully, these guys coming in, and that second guy who you mentioned, Mark, Miami transfer Nigel Pack, who is one of the more coveted point guards in the portal, coming to OU, chose us over Indiana, Kansas, and Kansas State, where he actually spent his first 2 seasons there and was first team All Big 12 and recently led Miami. I got his stats pulled up somewhere. Yeah, 14 points on 45% shooting and a 38% from the 3-point line. So just another versatile guy, a good sharpshooter to add to this roster, who is keeping some of the guys, some of the younger guys. One of the guys that tore, I believe, his ankle coming back, Jeff Nwankwo, I believe, and then Dayton Forsythe, who was the freshman coming out of Dale High School last year. So you definitely have some pieces coming together. I think they still have a few, I think 5 to 6 more spots, which is the way college basketball operates. But I think this is a great start for Porter. And I think this is, again, like BV, I think has to be the pivotal year. I think we've kind of given him a longer leash than what we anticipated. But if he keeps bringing these guys, hopefully he can put it together.
Yeah, can Nigel Pack be just your go-to? Can he dribble the ball out and lead the offense? You need someone who can do that, and it's not hard to envision him playing next to Dayton Forsythe, little 1-off, 2-off game, and figuring something out there. I don't think anyone is going to be Jeremiah Fears for the Sooners next year, but you don't have to have it all come out of one guy. You can build this thing with different puzzle pieces.
Yep. Yeah, they got some good freshman talent coming in, but how is he going to make it all work? I obviously think Tay and Nigel can bring that to a young and upcoming roster. So we'll have to see how he continues to do in the portal. Heading over to gymnastics, men's gym. They've currently competed in the NPSF Championship in Colorado Springs this past weekend, taking it home for the 20th program win and 20th program championship since 1999. You heard me correctly. 20th NPSF championship since 1999. Their last one they actually won in 2021, but they have had a remarkable stretch in the past 25 years and being consecutive winners. And again, men's gymnastics, an overall smaller national-wide program in comparison to women's, but the men's program has been lighting it up, especially with Coach Mark Williams, of just consecutive winning seasons. So they will upcoming is their NCAA qualifiers to get them into the postseason and get them further. I know they got their eyes set on the championship round. So good luck to men's gym in the postseason. Women's gymming,
Real fast,
gym.
Matt.
Yes.
What does NPSF stand for?
I want to say men's something. Let me see.
Oh, it's M. I thought we were saying N. That makes more sense.
Looks like it's the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation.
I wouldn't have got there. Continue.
I wouldn't have got there either. So, moving on to women's gym, who did compete in their first SEC championship run. Finished runners-up, just getting edged out by the Lady Tigers of LSU. It seems like that is their Achilles heel, but LSU is the reigning national championships. But they did beat out Florida, Missouri, Auburn, Kentucky, and Georgia, and Alabama within that weekend. And then most recently competed in the regional championships in Seattle against Auburn, Nebraska, and Illinois, along with Missouri and Auburn. They claimed their 15th straight regional title. They will be heading to Fort Worth to compete in the NCAA semis against Alabama, Florida, and Missouri on April 17th. They win that, they will be heading into the championship round. Have no doubt they will get there again. It's just, can they beat out LSU, who is most likely also going to be in that field as well. But the women's gym have a stray away to how they get to the championship rounds. So good luck to both men's and women's gym. That is Circle Wagons update.
I feel circled. Pat?
I do too. I feel great.
Beautifully circled.
I feel
All
like
right, are we going to do a full-on White Lotus thing here, Matt, or do we want to go to the MVPs?
Let's go to the MVPs.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, all right, then you gave us a teaser. Let's start off with Matt Gant's Program Guyz MVP of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, I foreshadowed it a little bit earlier. I'm going to go to White Lotus and its impact on me watching great television.
Oh, wow.
Every single Sunday for the past 2 months. Now, again, for people who don't watch White Lotus, it is one of those things where it's much more about the dialogue, the character arcs, and everything else, with just a little bit of murder on the side as well. So I really appreciate the dialogue, the dynamics, the interactions, all of it. It was incredible. Is it the best season of White Lotus? I don't think so, but it has been a very good one to watch, and really appreciated what Mike White, the producer, has put together. And he's already announced season 4. So if you haven't watched it, Hughes Views, I am highly recommending White Lotus season 1 through 3. So you will thoroughly enjoy it. It is an incredible up and down experience. That's my MVP.
Yeah.
Where's season 4 gonna be? Do we know?
Don't think he's announced it yet. No.
I like
it.
I like that White Lotus is basically just an Adam Sandler movie where, hey, we're going to use this as a vacation and we might shoot a movie at the same time.
Bang.
It's working. It's working for us.
Yeah, I think the last episode it needed 30 more minutes to just tie up loose ends. There's a lot of loose ends, and maybe he ties them up next season. That could be the point.
Maybe.
But there's a lot of stuff that happened like for literally no reason. So
that's a White Lotus special, baby.
Couple of brothers getting into stuff.
Whoa,
what I hear.
Hey, whoa. You gotta
no
watch.
Spoilers.
No spoilers.
Patrick,
MVP
of the week. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, I'll go LVP Bayern Munich for their performance against Inter Milan today.
Gosh.
Thomas Müller scores for Munich. This week was also announced they wouldn't extend his contract, so he's old. Just silly. Yeah, he's 35. Kimmich refuses to play right back, and the goal comes from the right, and the person who scores the goal was open because Kimmich was out of position in the midfield. So
tough look.
Just rough. I'll send you the video of my analysis.
Post it in the comments. Post it in the comments.
Yeah, well, maybe post it on all of our pages, Pat.
We'll do that. If you know, you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Our listeners love a little Premier League ball.
That's right.
That's Champions League.
Champions League.
That's good.
Yeah,
they love Champions League ball, even better than they love Premier League ball.
Champions.
Yep, I'll round us out. My MVP is going to be Florida Gators basketball.
Oh,
they won the national championship last night on Monday. They won the national championship in 2008. It sure seems like a Gators championship is a recession indicator. We might be heading over the cliff. Who knows? I don't for sure, but shout out to the Florida Gators. They are doing their part to ensure that we do have a recession. MVP Florida Gators.
You know, it's funny. That was when they won back-to-back. I think it was, I can't remember if it was 07-08 or 08-09.
It was.
But
Al Horford, Torian Green. Like, that team was Joakim Noah. They had Corey Brewer. Guys on guys, man. Those teams were nuts.
Hey,
Billy Donovan.
Billy Donovan, former OU
Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame inductee for his work with those teams, because it sure isn't his work in the NBA so far.
Real quick, fun trivia. Patrick brought it up. Mark, can you name 3 wide receivers from the OU and Ohio State game? And bonus point if you can guess the leading rusher.
From that game?
Correct. The OU versus Ohio State at the Shoe, 2017.
Trey Sermon
was the leading rusher. Yes, 62 yards.
Who we should have kept.
Okay.
If we would have kept him, we wouldn't have had. Yeah, we should have definitely kept him.
Definitely should have kept him. Trey Sermon was great. We turned Jalen Hurts into the starting running back, and that just it was great for Jalen, but it pushed out Trey Sermon. Time to stop stalling.
Super Bowl champ.
It's a tough question because one definitely started with an R. Rambo?
No. Charleston Rambo. No?
No?
Nope. Interesting.
He didn't play in that game?
Nope. Well, at least he didn't receive any catches.
Must have been gone already. Let's go.
Come on.
Jeff
There's
Mead.
Huh?
Jeff Mead?
No. There's one obvious guy on this list.
CeeDee Lamb.
There is CeeDee Lamb. Yep. 5 catches, 61 yards. The top wide receiver in that game was more of an H-back.
Lee Morris?
Lee Morris did catch a touchdown that game. Yes, he's one of them.
Okay.
That was also before. This was like CeeDee Lamb's coming out year, right? This was
right. Yeah, this wasn't like his year, but big guy coming out of the backfield.
Yeah, I know who that is. We brought him up a couple weeks ago, actually.
Yeah, we did.
Wasn't Braden Willis?
No, it was before him.
Wasn't Jeremiah Hall? Was it?
Nope. And you're missing one of the best tight ends too. So.
I mean, Mark Andrews?
Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews and
said
Grant.
receivers.
Yeah.
Well, just name guys that caught a ball. Dimitri Flowers is the guy I was thinking of for you.
God, Dimitri Flowers, man. That game he played against Iowa State that year when he started at tailback was nuts. He had a career ahead of him.
Hey, could that be JK7?
More.
Hey, could
That's
that be
what I'm talking about.
Could
That's
be.
what I'm talking
That's
about.
what the people are saying. I don't know.
Again, who were the other wide receivers that game?
Jeff Badette and, well, it was Rodney Anderson, but he's an RB. All those guys are just other than Mikael Jones, but I'm not familiar with him.
Michael
but
Jones,
on the other side was Terry
Rodney's
McLaurin,
1
Scary
year.
Terry, and Paris Campbell on the other side.
Golly, man, they've had receivers forever.
And JK. Yeah, JK Dobbins. Yeah.
And we beat them. With that group of guys, we beat them.
Yeah, it's because they had JT Barrett, who not the
JT Barrett could
Ohio
play.
State guy.
He's no Baker Mayfield, but JT Barrett could play
Yeah, he wasn't bad
at all.
He had
That's
Duke.
circle. That's the pod, baby.
All right. That's the pod, baby. This has been episode 170 of the Program Guys podcast. As always, please like and subscribe and share us with a friend. If you have listened along this entire time, I know you're enjoying the pod. Share us with a buddy. That's the only way we grow. We don't do a lot of outreach, so we need you to help us with that. Like us on follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. Pat might have a Snapchat. I'm not even sure anymore. And I think that's all we've got. We will see you next week. Patrick, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.
3, 2, 1,
There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.